to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool teaching model that turns the whole challenge of learning to read and write, especially for bilingual students, into a genuine adventure. So, it all kicks off with this simple, but honestly pretty powerful question. For a lot of students, learning to read can feel like a total chore, right? Just another task to tick off a list. But what if? What if we could flip that script and turn it into a quest? Okay, so section one, the Bilingual Literacy Challenge, or as we're calling it, Lost in the Woods of Learning. Before we can find a new path, we've got to understand why so many students are getting lost to begin with. Let's dig into those persistent literacy gaps you see in bilingual elementary education. The core issue here isn't about ability. Not at all. It's really a crisis of engagement. When you've got these traditional one-size-fits-all methods that just don't connect with bilingual learners, well, they lose motivation. And that is a huge problem that can shadow them for their entire academic career. The core issue here isn't about ability. Not at all. And this quote from Cummins really gets to the heart of it. We've known for decades, based on research, that a student's first language isn't some kind of barrier to be overcome. No, it's the foundation. Skills literally transfer from one language to the next. So if that foundation is shaky, you can bet everything built on top of it is going to be unstable too. All right, section 2. Entering the magical forest, a new path to literacy. So the big question is, how do we build that strong, engaging foundation? Well, enter the Explorers of the Forest of Reading and Writing. It's a model designed to do exactly that, to forge a whole new path. So this whole model is built on an idea called blended learning. But, and this is super important, this isn't just about parking kids in front of a computer screen. Not at all. It's about using technology in a really intentional way to completely transform the classroom, turning students from passive listeners into active explorers of their own learning. The real magic here is in the mix of ingredients, right? The model uses a station rotation system, and it blends smart, adaptive software with really playful, gamified activities. And the whole thing is grounded in what's called universal design for learning, which basically just means putting student choice right at the center of everything. It's all about making sure this journey is accessible and empowering for every single student. And gamification, that's the engine driving all this motivation. See, students aren't just, doing assignments. They're explorers on a quest. They earn tickets and coins. They track their progress through these cool color levels. It completely reframes their work into a series of exciting missions. And gamification, that's the engine driving all this motivation. See, students aren't just, doing assignments. They're explorers on a quest. They earn tickets and coins. They track their progress through these cool color levels. It completely reframes their work into a series of exciting missions. And gamification, that's the engine driving all this motivation. See, students aren't just, doing assignments. They're explorers on a quest. They earn tickets and coins. They track their progress through these cool color levels. It completely reframes their work into a series of exciting missions. And gamification, that's the engine driving all this motivation. See, students aren't just, doing. Okay, Section 3, Exploring the Learning Stations, an explorer's journey. So now that we've got the map, let's actually take a tour of these magical stations. This is where the real learning happens. This is the heart of the journey. So the journey is spread across these 6 different stations. And what's so clever about this is how they create this balanced ecosystem for learning. You've got quiet reading, creative writing, hands-on invention, even gamified phonics practice. It's this variety that keeps things fresh and helps target different skills for every student. All right, let's zoom in on a couple of these stations. First up, the Writer's Cave, a space designed to really help students find their voice. So inside the cave, students are honing their craft. They're using both old school notebooks and digital platforms like Schoology, and they're responding to these really creative prompts that push them way beyond just worrying about correct grammar. The real goal here is to build creativity, perseverance, and the confidence to share their own unique ideas. Okay, next up, we're crossing the Digital Explorer's Bridge. This is where technology steps in to create a truly personalized learning path for every single student. This is where students are using these adaptive learning platforms like iReady and Amplify Reading. And these things are incredibly smart. The software literally adjusts the difficulty of the activities on the fly to match each student's specific color level. This makes sure they're always working on challenges that are just right for them. Not too hard, not too easy. It's a perfect example of using tech to actually transform learning, not just add to it. This is where students are using these adaptive learning platforms like iReady and Amplify Reading. And these things are incredibly smart. The software literally adjusts the difficulty of the activities on the fly to match each student's specific color level. This makes sure they're always working on challenges that are just right for them. Not too hard, not too easy. And finally, we arrive at what might be the most personal and maybe the most important part of the journey. The Forest Fairies Refuge. This station is where the real magic of human connection comes into play. In these small, focused groups, the teacher gives that tailored, one-on-one guidance that helps students navigate their own unique challenges. It's that direct feedback and support that builds the confidence they need to level up and keep going. Section 4, Early Discoveries and Lessons, or Treasures Found on the Path. So you're probably wondering, does this whole adventure actually lead anywhere? Let's take a look at the treasures and the lessons that have been discovered so far. I mean, when you put the two approaches right next to each other, the contrast is just stark. The traditional method so often leads to motivation just fizzling out, and students become passive learners. But the magical forest model, it creates a personalized journey that keeps that motivation high and turns students into active explorers. It's a night and day difference. And the early data? It's looking really promising. The action research that's being done is showing a clear high increase in student motivation, and you can see visible gains in their confidence. And most importantly, there's early evidence that students are successfully using their first language skills to learn their second, which, is the whole point of the model. This quote really reveals a profound shift. It's not just about the students. The teacher's role completely evolves. They're no longer just standing at the front of the room transmitting information. In this model, the teacher becomes an architect. They're the one designing these meaningful learning experiences, while the students are the ones doing the exploring. Okay, for our final section, number 5, The future of literacy, sharing the map. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What does all this mean for the future of literacy education? This was never just about one successful classroom. The ultimate vision here is to create a flexible, adaptable framework. Basically, a blueprint that lets any educator, anywhere, build their very own magical forest, tailored to their students and their school. And of course, the journey is far from over. The path forward is all about growth and making this accessible. It's about scaling these strategies to other grade levels, adapting the model for schools that might have fewer resources, and really strengthening that school-family connection to make sure the impact lasts a lifetime. And of course, the journey is far from over. The path forward is all about growth and making. And all of this leaves us with this one final question. Really, it's a call to action for all of us, whether you're an educator, a parent, or just someone who cares about learning. It's an invitation to think about how we can move beyond the old, tired maps and start creating more learning environments that feel like a meaningful, magical adventure for every single child.